Welcome to Vanishing Gates. I'm Jay, your host into the strange and the unexplained. You'll notice my co-hosts Katie Cat and Jack are not here right now. We have been busy over the holiday season. That's why we're so far behind. Starting next week, we will have weekly shows up on our YouTube, weekly videos on our YouTube every week. And a little birdie told me podcast is in the works. Might be relaunching the podcast on YouTube. Might be launching it somewhere else. Not sure. Stay tuned for that news. I'll get you up to date on that as soon as possible. In the meantime, next week we will continue with regular videos of topics. In this particular one, I want to talk about something kind of sad and address something that we need to focus on if we're going to be out there in the field doing any kind of research, whether it be cryptid hunting, squatching, any of that stuff. Something we need to focus on. So that's safety. Now, this is the article. It's from Fox News. This is from this month. This is from actually today, the 29th, as it were. Two dead after search for Sasquatch in Washington National Forest. Portland men, ages 59 and 37, found dead in Skamania County, Washington. Now, this is a bummer, man. You never want to hear stuff like this. You never want to hear that someone that's interested in this stuff, that something bad happens to them. But the fact is, if we put ourselves out there and we get out in the field to test, bad things can happen. You ask anybody that goes out there, you've got to be prepared. So two men from Portland died searching for Sasquatch during Christmas week, according to officials. Around 1 a.m. Christmas Day, Skamania County Communications Center received a report from a family member of two people who were searching for Sasquatch and were missing after they planned to return home on December 24th, according to the Skamania County Sheriff's Office. The flock camera, also known as a license plate reader, located the men's car off of Oklahoma Road near Willard, Washington. Over 3 days, search and rescue resources, including more than 60 volunteers, canines, drones, ground search teams, and the U.S. Coast Guard air assets, had searched for the men. After a grueling 3-day search over difficult terrain and harsh weather conditions, the 59-year-old male and the 37-year-old male, both from Portland, Oregon, who were reported missing or endangered, were located, deceased sadly, in a heavily wooded area of the Gifford-Pinchot National Forest, the sheriff's office said on Facebook. I added some words in there. Their Facebook was a lot more clean on it. Both deaths appear to be due to exposure based on weather conditions and ill preparedness. This is something I cannot harp on you enough. As a guy who does survival camping, every chance I get, I go out and camping. For me, camping is a knife, a couple pieces of gear, the clothes on my back, and a backpack, and I go out in the woods. And I disappear for a day, 3 days, a week, however long, until I say, hey, come pick me up at this point, and I go home. It's not for everyone. I don't suggest everyone do that. It's something that you should be trained to do. You should understand safety. You should understand the woods, know your environment, at least have an idea of where you're going. Let loved ones know where you're going, when to pick you up, what the signs will be that something's wrong. Have a distress plan. Is one thing you should always have first before you even step out of the car into the woods. Have a distress plan. The first rule of survival is not get water. It is to make sure you have shelter. Shelter is the number one important thing in woodland survival, especially, which is the thing that I know the best is woodland survival. I wouldn't do much of the desert. I don't know much about that. I have never done survival desert stuff. I've done winter survival and woodland survival, mountain survival, that kind of thing. I don't know a whole lot about desert, so I know enough probably to be okay, but I wouldn't want to touch it. I stay away from the desert. I'm a woods guy. I live in the Pacific Northwest. This is where I've always lived, is the Pacific Northwest, for a brief stint in the Central Valley of California. But this is where I'm from. This is what I know, and this is what I stick to. And that's why I do that here and not somewhere else. Probably wouldn't do this on the East Coast, wouldn't know the environment as well, but I wouldn't feel as uncomfortable with lots and lots of training. So, shelter first. I consider shelter and fire to be in the same page, but shelter more important than fire. Fire next, water, and then food. Okay, you got days to get these things done. You have hours to get shelter done. And if the weather turns, you have minutes sometimes to get shelter done. So be prepared to have shelter. Tents are not always enough. You got to know your weather patterns. You got to know what the weather is going to be like, things like this. If you're going to go out in the field to do Sasquatching. I know I might be droning on, guys, but this is an incredible important thing to understand. If we're out there trying to get these answers, we can't get the answers if we're dead, okay? Plus, it's sad. It's a bummer that people that are passionate about Sasquatch, passionate about the stuff that we're passionate about, are now not here because they didn't prepare properly. And that's super That's sad. The sheriff's office thanked the volunteers who spent Christmas week searching for men through freezing temperatures, snow, high water levels, heavy rain, downfall, and heavily wooded terrain, allowing the men to be taken home to their family. At least that's a plus. They don't have to worry about not knowing where they're at, and that is a small favor from the universe to allow that to happen. The Skamania County Sheriff's Office extends our deepest sympathies and condolences to the families of the loved ones lost in this tragic incident. And we here at Vanishing Gates also reach out with our sympathies and condolences to the families as well. It's a super bummer. I don't even know what else to say. I know it sounds minuscule when I say it like that, but I really am grieving for the families here because this could have been prevented with better preparedness. Back in 2019, the Travel Channel blog, the article goes on to say, said Washington was the world's most active region for Sasquatch sightings. Of particular note were the Blue Mountain and Okanagan County, which the Travel Channel wrote as the locale of one of the most aggressive Bigfoot encounters ever recorded. And we'll talk about that in another episode. But yeah, so be prepared if you're going to go out in the woods. Go with a guide if you don't know what you're doing. Hire someone. It's worth it. It could save your life. Be prepared. And if you hire a guide, make sure you vet the guide. Make sure they are legitimate. There are a lot of fake people out there who would not do well guiding you. So keep squatching. Keep looking for the cryptids. Let's keep looking at the sky for aliens and drones. And let's keep the wonder alive and try to get some answers as we go into 2025. But let's do this intelligently. Let's do this prepared. Not to say these fellows weren't intelligent or they weren't prepared enough. They might have thought they were prepared enough. Weather can change on a dime, especially in this region, especially north of the region, the north part. Like I'm in the Pacific Northwest, there's still way more north than I am. A lot more snow quickly can happen. You can pile snow on in minutes in that region. Here it's mostly just rain, thankfully. Some snow in the mountains, but you know, I live on the ocean, so it's not as big a problem. That said, I do plan on going and doing a squatching trip soon. I know I've been talking about it for a couple of years. I haven't gone squatching in a while. Been talking about it. Jack is not going to be able to go with me when I go squatching. So I'm trying to find a group of people to go with me to go squatching on this camping trip that I want to do come the summertime. I might try to do it during the spring because, you know, I would rather not be in fire season in the area that we're going to go to because it can be pretty bad. But I would like to try to get as close to Peak 8 as possible. If you don't know what that is a place that is, well, just look it up on Google Earth. Peak 8 in Northern California. It's outside. It's a bit northeast of where the Patterson-Gimlin footage was filmed. And I always have this weird thing about that place. I've never been up there. I've heard a couple stories of people that say they've been out that far. Park rangers I've talked to have been really, really quiet about it. I think there's actually, if I were to guess, there's something up there I'm not supposed to see federally, if I were to guess, but I could be wrong. It could just be that it's hard to get to, tough terrain, so I got to find people that are willing to go, have a good time, camp, film, and we can come back with like a short docu thing about it, or a longer frame YouTube video for you. In the meantime, next week, like I said, we'll be back to our regular programming every week, having a set topic that we'll go by. I'm going to start doing the live streams more often. I've been saying that, but I'm going to, starting next week, Sundays for now. I think we might switch to Saturdays for recording. I'll still be doing my live stream for research for the next week on Sundays probably. Anyway, that's that part. Big shout out, by the way. Ken Gerhard is engaged, so good kudos to you, buddy. If you don't know who that is, I have most of his books. He's a cryptozoologist and an all-around really nice guy. I haven't got to have him on the show, and he stopped doing podcasts a while ago, but I'm hoping to get him on as a guest because I love Ken. He was cool enough to autograph most of the copies of my books. I bought them for most of my co-hosts in the past because he writes some really good stuff. Anyway, so congratulations to you, and I hope you have a long and happy marriage. And let's get this new year started off right, man. Let's have some good news. Now that the drones and kind of pattered down away from the paranormal and the extraterrestrial and more the what the hell is the government hiding from us, or what are they hiding? Anyway, good times. Like I said, new video coming up soon. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, please do. Follow us on Facebook if you don't, because that's where you're going to see the live. And a little birdie told me podcast might be back sooner than later. Anyway, I'm Jay for Katie Cat and Jack, and this has been Vanishing Gates. Good night, and good nightmares.